so.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order.
Recording in progress.
Call the meeting to order at 7:01. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion. We approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
And second, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda as presented indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is approval of the minutes, 4/11/22. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of 4/11/22.
And I'll second them.
Discussion? Joe?
Want to go first, Joe?
Sure. The first paragraph on page 2, the last sentence starts with procedures. Well, that carries over from the previous sentence, rules and procedures. And she asked, this is talking about Mary Lee, about an organ. I had a hard time understanding what was being said there.
Where are we?
This is the top of page 2, 1, 2, 3, third and fourth line down.
Looks like it's the wrong minutes.
It starts with page 4, is that what you're talking about, Joe?
Exactly.
Okay. Right here, page 4, last
Page
line.
4,
on
last line of the page.
I think he's asking about that sentence. It has your name in it, so.
I think what that was, I was asking why we hadn't appointed the people that should have been appointed the first, and they've since been appointed. Because it says it's from the documents of our rules and procedures. And I
Right.
asked about an organizational chart because of the course I had taken, it showed one from the state training.
My recollection was that Dick had asked you which document you were reading from.
Right.
And you said it was a document from our own rules and procedures, and you asked about the organizational chart. All of that pretty much coincides with what I recall from that meeting. But that last piece, and is from the state training for select board members, kind of doesn't quite fit.
The organization chart showed in the training session, and I asked if we had one.
Right. Well, as Bob said, I mean, this references your contributions to the meeting. If you're happy with this, I'm fine myself.
I'm fine with it.
Great.
Else, Joe?
Just it's a typo in the middle of towards the end of the paragraph that starts, M. Jones stated, there was a discussion on the issues of the dogs, whose dogs are misbehaving. That should just be WHOSE. Under the CDERAC appointment discussion, R. Spalding made, we should add a motion to appoint Elizabeth Byrd. On the third page, Emil Harris asked about the lumbers, shingle, and wood. R. Spalding stated something like, it is a historical position. Don't exactly remember that, Bob,
I don't.
but it was along those lines, wasn't it?
I think it was Dick that spoke to it, didn't you, Dick?
No, you talked about it being a historical position.
I did?
And then I was talking about the fact they did away with the weigher of coal a while ago.
Right.
And I think the lumber and shingle inspector is, I was gonna bring that up too, Joe. The other thing is, in the same line, it's about a lumber, shingle, and wood inspector. So the word inspector should be inserted before that comma.
Under about 3-4 lines down, R. Combs made, should say, a motion to appoint R. Spalding for the third fence viewer for 1 year. Next section, under salvage yard renewals, the first paragraph, first sentence, Jay Lamy stated this is carried over from last year. There was a note from Karen who spoke to, should insert a to, Wendy from State DEC. Wendy said, no signature is needed. And on the fourth page, under expenditure of scrap metal proceeds, R. Spalding made a motion to approve the purchase of the proposed items as opposed to accept. And then on the fifth page, so paragraph 2/3 of the way down starts, M. Jones advised, and LED should be all caps. I think that's it. Oh, finally, the last page, under adjournment, it says we adjourned at 9:03 PM. There needs to be a 0 in there. It's 9:30. Thank you.
Okay, Joe? Good?
I filled out a good share of the ones I had. However, just as a point of reference in the attendance, the Zoom attendees, I think it would be a good idea for the record if we actually had the people's last names. I do not know who Jeff was.
Sure.
And I don't know who Annika was. No, somebody else may know who that is, but I do not. And for the record, we should have the last names too. So I would suggest that at some point in time, Jim, we actually ask who, if they're not just the first name on the Zoom, who they are, so that we can add that to the record, so Allison has all the information she needs.
Okay.
Moving on. Okay, where was I? I don't remember what that one was. And page 4, about 2/3 of the way down, a trackless MSD tractor proposal. Brent stated, it should say Brent Clark stated. And let's see, what else do I have? I guess that's all I got.
Good. Okay, Bob?
I'm good.
Mary Lee?
Fine.
Fine. Allison, did you get those corrections?
Yeah, I got most of them. I'll listen to the recording.
Okay, all right. Joe?
This might be a good time for Mike to ask Chris, who's on the screen, to provide a last name in his screen name.
So Chris, is this Chris Foraker that's on Zoom?
Yes, Mike, it is.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else? If not, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Moving on to citizens' comments and/or concerns not on the agenda. Yes, sir.
Steve Beatty from Precision Auto Body in Castleton. I want to complain about the water runoff from Dollar General and the road that's been going on since you guys had the permits to build the place. I've been to the town office a couple times, but haven't really gotten a response. But the water runs off Dollar General and runs down to the road and circles the pole and comes back and floods me out all the time. And it
That's
needs
state
to be
highway, isn't it?
addressed.
That's state highway there.
It is.
No, it
It
isn't?
also runs off Dollar General, which, when they built that place, when I came to town meetings, I told them that water's not run uphill. And when they filled in that field and compacted it with slate with a roller, vibrating roller, there's no way water's gonna get in there. Plus, paved over the top of it, and before they paved it, I called to have somebody come down and look at it. That road, or the driveway, comes right to me. I mean, stand there and look at it. I ain't gotta be an engineer. And Nobody's done anything about it. And what's happening, I believe it's undermining my building.
Okay.
Because the water's going underneath. Now when you run a jack across the floor, you can feel the vibration in the floor. And the cracks are starting to get bigger. Something's gotta be done, or.
Who did you talk to at the town?
I talked to I came to one meeting, I believe, and I talked to the town manager. I don't know if he was
It was
the
me.
town manager.
No, it was
at the
me.
time.
That
But
was
this
you,
was
Mike?
right before COVID hit.
No. Want me to address
Okay,
it?
we'll check it out and get back to you, how's that?
Well, I
It's-
hope so.
It's been
We
checked
will,
out.
we will, you can be sure.
Let me address it right now.
Sure.
I had the state come in with their engineers, and they looked at it, Steve, and they said that they're gonna do nothing about it until they repave the road, because the wheel tracks that are in the road now are leading the water, and it's exiting on your property. So it doesn't come from just Dollar General, you're actually
No, it
getting,
doesn't.
you're getting water from,
It comes from the road too,
Yeah.
because of the way the road is sloped. But it doesn't help when you got that whole parking lot dumping onto me. I mean, I had to build a pond to catch all the water, which should have been their responsibility, not mine. And they got a culvert up there that, I don't know what they put it in for looks, I guess, because there ain't an ounce of water that goes through it to divert it the other way. It's just the whole way the thing was built was wrong.
Okay.
And I was trying to get on everybody before that happened, and nothing ever came about. So, I don't know. I don't wanna be talking to the wind here, and I know it's none of you guys, but something's gotta be done.
Can we look into that again, Mike?
yeah, certainly will. And it's gonna get paved again, and it's on the docket for spring of 2024. I know
I
there's,
have another problem too, if they're gonna repave this, okay, they've already raised that road several times over the years. And if they're gonna dig it down a little bit, or what are they gonna, I mean, when they come in there to repave it, I'm getting lower and lower and lower here. I mean, that road used to run a lot different than what it runs now, back in the day. That road where they actually filled in, used to come up from, Ed Graziano's, and it actually was this way, and it actually came through pretty much the middle of my parking lot, went out through where Jim Amory's was by the snack bar, and they pushed the road that way, but they keep raising it. Every time they pave it, they raise it. So, I mean, I know you gotta have it going that way, but I'm getting lower and lower as time goes on. They filled that whole field in, probably 6 feet of fill, or not more, because that field used to be lower than me. Some of it, not all of it, because it was naturally went uphill, but down by the road, I used to mow that for Ed. And my tractor, you'd see right level with the road. That's how low that was. Now it's high, all the way up through there.
Okay,
So they filled the ditch in, basically, is what they done.
gonna follow it up, Mike.
I am, I'll get a hold of District 3.
You'll get a hold of District 2, follow it up and get back to you.
District 3.
All right.
Anyone else? Yes, Joe. Joe Bruno.
Bruno. So sometime last year, maybe it was the week before that, Janet Curry got off the planning commission as chair. I was on the planning commission, so I became chair once again. And Mark Brown had contacted me about being part of the CDERAC. And so I thought that I was, and I'd been going to some of the meetings, but then I found out, if you look on our website, I'm not there. And I also noticed while I was looking that Liz Bird her name's already on there. And I've been to 2 meetings since COVID. And I just wanted to know, is it something that the board hasn't taken action on, or was it an oversight, or what? Because I guess their bylaws says there's 2 representatives in the town, and Dick's one of them, and the planning commission chair was the other. So that was one thing that I wanted to bring up. The other thing, last Tuesday I attended the Rutland Regional Planning Commission meeting, and went over there about the solar array that's proposed to go up on exit 5. Bob and Mary Lee came to our public hearing, and didn't seem to me that there was many people there that were in support of it. I don't know if you guys are aware of the proposal, but they proposed to put in a 2.2 megawatt array, which is gonna take up another 18 acres, and at least 10 or 12 acres of that is, right now, it's a cornfield. So we're gonna lose that possibly, and we've already lost another 18 acres on Sand Hill that was a cornfield. So after going to the meeting, the board asked me how the town felt, and I said, well, I don't really know, because I haven't been to the select board. And they had been waiting for some comment from the town. So I told them that I thought that the planning commission, we're not against renewable energy, but we are against these solar companies targeting prime ag land, because it's clear. They don't have to cut trees, they don't have to do a lot of excavating to put their panels in. So then the board asked me, well, do we have anything in our town plan? The only thing we do have in there is to protect agricultural land. The problem we have is we don't have agricultural zone as a zoning area, but agriculture is allowed in all of our zones. There's not any zone that is not allowed in. So they asked me that if I should go to the board and see if the board supports this project or not. So I'm here to ask the select board, if you're all up to speed on what's going on, we're gonna be looking at 18 acres of solar panels on exit 5. And as much as they've said they're going to screen it, if you read the documents, they said there's already plenty of native vegetation there that will screen some of it. They admit that they'll have to put some screening in. But any of you that drive across Route 4, look at all the trees on the north side of the woods from Travis's field to exit 5. They're all dying. And I don't know if it's because of the brine they're using in the wintertime or the salt, but all those pines, all them evergreen, are all brown and they're dying. So they're not gonna be able to screen that. The other thing that they told us at the meeting is they're gonna crop all the trees in that little knoll between the two arrays. So cropping, someone asked them, what are you doing? What do you mean? How do you crop trees? Well, we cut the tops off them. Those are mature trees. If you cut the tops off them, you might as well take them down, because they're gonna die. So the Rutland Regional Planning was not too thrilled about that idea, and I don't think a lot of them are supporting these solar companies that are taking up our fields, if you will. Hay fields, cornfields. They're disappearing in Vermont. So at some point, I think we need to dig our feet and say, listen, we gotta stop this. You cannot continue to do this at the rate they're going. You folks have all been around the state like I have, go up 7 or up 30 north, and some of them old farms that have gone out of business now are all solar panels. So the other question was, they asked about the energy enhancement. We don't have them. We started on one and has other things. The ball got dropped, and now we're working on zoning, trying to catch up that. But I still believe in our town plan, just protecting ag land should have some weight with them. However, they still insist that they need support from the town, being you guys.
What's the position of the planning commission?
We are not in favor of where it is.
Have you documented it for us? We haven't received, as far as I know, we haven't received anything.
To be honest with you, Jim, I didn't know how far this was going when I went over there Tuesday night. I figured it was a done deal, because if you, those of you that were here remember, that same company came to this town with 2 arrays. They wanted to put one on the south side down by our well, and then they wanted to put one on the north side over in half of where they're gonna put it now, where they would like to. But it had to be a preferred site by the town, and we said, no, it's not a preferred site. So what did they do? They made it big enough so now it's not up to the town, it's up to the PUC. So they pulled the rug out from under us and said, this is what we're gonna do. And like I said, I thought it was a done deal until I went to that meeting the other night. And now I have a little bit of hope that maybe we can at least say, guys, you gotta find another spot for it. We're not in favor of you putting it there. So that's,
Well, will the planning commission take action on this at their next meeting, and,
tomorrow night.
okay, and then give us something in writing and we can respond to it?
We will, that would be great, because I think our next Rutland Regional Planning meeting is the 17th.
Okay,
So if they told me if I could have something by then, it sounds like they're not going to support it.
Okay.
Will that stop it? Not 100% sure, because it's still up to the Public Utility Commission.
okay. Anything else, Joe? You got another one?
I could probably think of something now.
Mike? Oh, well, you thinking, did you want to say something, Mike?
I don't recall the select board doing the appointment, Joe, for you on the CDERAC, because Janet was on before you, and she never really attended any meetings. I don't think it ever got actioned. I don't recall it anyway.
All I know is Martin Brown called me up right after Janet got off. Or wasn't reappointed, she left. And asked me if I would attend the meetings, and I said absolutely, and then we started Zooming. Well, I don't Zoom. The only Zoom I've had, I think I told people, is on the scope on my right.
What's the total number of members we now have on the planning commission?
I think
His name
Mary's
is on
and I
here.
think we're still.
Planning Commission or CDERAC?
CDERAC.
We had CDERAC now?
His name's
Right.
on there.
That's what the
Well,
appointment.
She's talking about CDERAC.
Which one do you want to be on, Joe? CDERAC?
Well, I'm already on the plan.
You're already, okay. How many do we have on CDERAC?
Let's,
Joe's
By
on
the
that too.
bylaws,
according to this paper,
by
you're
the
already appointed, Joe.
bylaws, we have to have a select board representative, and we have to have a planning commission representative.
Okay.
And it's, you as selectmen appointed Mr. Combs, and then we had Janet for a breath, and then, we didn't have anybody, and COVID, as Joe said, COVID came along, and we all learned how to Zoom, and we were a brand-new committee. So, then we lost our chairperson. I'm now the chairperson, and when I got my bearings about us, I invited Joe because he's the chairperson.
So,
Hey.
if we do that, we won't be
Joe's
exceeding,
name's already on here.
pardon?
Joe's name's on this list that you gave
Your
us.
name's already on the list,
On
Joe.
the town website.
No, because it never got actioned. Karen filled out that, she put Liz Bird's name on there prematurely. So that's the administrative error, but the select board never made the motion to appoint Joe on the CDERAC.
While we're on this, I think this document is not 100% accurate, this appointment list. The other question I got, and Joe Bruno can help me out on this one, didn't we not appoint Mike Holden to the planning commission recently?
We did.
That's what I thought, because he's not on this list either.
Yeah, that was my correction.
So, I think we need to review this whole appointments list and make sure we've got it right, and if you haven't been appointed, we need to do that.
We don't have it right because we tabled Liz Bird's.
No, I mean, if Joe's on this list as being appointed, but he isn't.
I know, but Liz Bird is on the list too, and we haven't.
That was because of the, wasn't that because of the term? There was discussion about staggering the terms.
Correct.
And that's why it's coming
You
back.
wanted that
up
tabled
tonight.
so you could get the updated list.
But Bob's right, she shouldn't be on this list if we haven't appointed her.
No, of course not.
So
So we need to review this list to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
It's on the agenda tonight. Anything else? Yes, Joe?
Have you looked at the appointments so that they are staggered, so we don't go through this again?
I would hope so, Joe.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. Anything else?
We're still looking for another planning commission member.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good ad, Joe. Okay. Anybody else?
Just so.
I know.
Joe, just so you're aware, what we have on here is Joe Bruno expires in '23. Liz McKay and Frank Johnson expire in '22. And Mike Holden's not on here, but he should be. And I don't know when his term expires, off the top of my head.
We
So
will
we'll have to get
certainly
this
make every
fixed.
effort to straighten this out.
We're gonna get this fixed.
If
Get it
I
right, yeah.
remember correctly, you said, let's make that appointment for 1 year for Mike. But if that's gonna make 3 members doing 22, maybe you wanna do something different there.
Okay.
Or you could still do it for 1, and then when you reappoint this summer, then stagger them out.
Yeah.
Anything else? We have a lady in the back. Been very patient.
Pardon me?
You've been very patient.
Oh, thank you. No, I just want to clarify the next item, the extension request. Will public have an opportunity to talk then?
I don't know why not.
Okay, I'll wait then.
Okay.
Jan, who's speaking?
And yeah, that was Katie Colpo.
Oh, yep, sorry.
Yeah, please, if you speak, just speak loud enough so the speaker up here can pick
Pick
up
it
your
up,
name,
yeah.
please.
Okay, anything else? Any other folks who want to address the board, items not on the agenda.
I just had the one question. How many members do you have on the CDERAC now? I didn't hear you answer that question, Mary.
We have 9.
You have 9 right now.
We have 9.
And how many you're supposed to have?
We have to have at least 9.
Okay, so you're good.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Now, it's Mary McIntyre speaking, Allison. So, as long as we're on it, so our bylaws say at least 9, and there are 1-year terms. On that list, they're all 2-year terms.
Right.
And somewhere along, I mean, I don't even know where I expired, because we kind of got lost during COVID. And then we lost our chairperson. So I'm not exactly sure where all these stand, but we are just getting on our feet. And what I have suggested to Mike and another member from the CDERAC board, we're working on rewriting and catching up the bylaws for the board's approval, of course. And we are getting on that, and we discussed this at the meeting the other night. We also have another person who wants to come on board, but if we can have them come on in an organized fashion, so we can get everybody up to speed at the same time, because we only meet once a month. So every month, we're getting, if we get people thrown at us, then we're having to reintroduce what we're doing and the goals that we're working on, and it slows up our whole meeting. So we'd just like a little thought being put into this, and if we could be notified in advance so we can catch these people up. And we've had a person show up, came to 2 meetings and disappeared. I mean, I really think that they need to come and see what we do before they get an appointment. Because they may not really be interested in what we do. It may not be exciting enough for them.
Okay, thank you.
I got one more thing. Mary, Mike, do you need Mary to get with you to figure out everybody's term? All 9 members, which one should have be a 2-year, which one should be 1 year? Do you need her to sit down with you to?
It would help, but we're gonna have to go back and probably look at the minutes of the meetings and see who was appointed at what times, and try to get it on a staggered, expiration dates, but I'll always meet with you, Mary, so it's just syncing up our schedules, that seems to be the
Right.
problem, but.
But if you can't meet with me, you can meet with Petey, because she's also working on this. We've been working on it together, and her schedule might be a little more flexible during the day.
Okay. Anything else? Citizens' concerns? If not, we'll move on. The next item on the agenda, due diligence extension request, Zach Hale, Hale Resources. Yes, Zach?
Zach Hale, Hale Resources, just coming to request an extension for our due diligence periods. I sent a packet out to everyone, and it kind of reviewed all the information that was pertinent to this request, but I'm really just here to answer any questions that anyone has. Basically, we established 4 due diligence periods in the purchase sales agreement. The 4th due diligence period starts on May 17th, and it was only allowed for Act 250 permitting. And we need we have a site plan that we've presented to the DRB an application, and we plan to probably need to go to the DRB more than one time. So I don't think that we're gonna get the permitting, local permitting by May 16th. So looking for a little bit more time, hoping that we can establish a 4th due diligence period for our local permitting, and then add on a 5th due diligence period for Act 250 if that's required. So that's basically the request, and if anyone has questions, we'd have to answer them.
Okay, questions for Zach?
I'd like to recuse myself.
Okay. You're recusing yourself, Mary Lee, all right? Any other questions from the board? If not, Joe, you
Just one.
look like you were going to have a question.
It's a very small question. I think it's page 3 or 4. One of the maps has the facility identified as it's awfully small writing, 98 or 99 unit.
99 unit.
Right, but the other documents refer to 108 units.
When the purchase and sales agreement was drafted, that plan at the time was, we had a feasibility study for 108 units, and so we were looking to make sure we could do what was feasible. The developers that we've brought in as partners are just built a 99-unit facility, and they're looking to use that same building for this project, and so instead of utilizing the 108 units that the feasibility study said we could do, we're just gonna do the 99 units.
Okay, and the 99 is consistently reflected in the documents you've provided us?
In the site plans, yes. The purchase sales agreement did say it was 108,
Okay.
but that was before I had met these developers and everything, so.
Other questions for Zach? Seeing none? Yes, Mike, go ahead.
I did pass this through our attorney to make sure everything was kosher, and he gave it the green light, so.
Okay.
As far as the legal side.
And just to add one more thing, these same developers, just in Berlin, they're opening a facility this month, and it's pretty much the same feasibility as Castleton, and they have that place almost filled before they've even opened their doors and started marketing. So just a flyer on the fence outside of the construction site has almost filled that facility. So there is a huge demand for this in not only this community, but all of Vermont. So.
I got a question now. How close are they to finishing that project up in here?
I do believe that they're gonna open the facility this month or next, so,
Okay.
yeah, doors open, yep. And that's,
Something we can go visit, you think?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, they've encouraged everybody to, yeah, if you guys wanna go visit, DRB's welcome to go visit, yeah.
Just shoot me the address for it when you can, shoot Mike the address.
Okay, yeah, definitely do that.
Just so I have it, yeah.
Joe?
Do you know where the residents are coming from that are going to occupy that facility up north?
Based on the feasibility study, it was within a 5-mile radius of the primary market area, which was that site. So, and the secondary market was 10 miles, and they actually excluded all of New York too. So we're talking within a 5 to 10 mile radius of that property right there.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions from the board?
This was pretty clear.
Okay. Want to hear from Katie now?
It'll take me a second here, guys. Okay, there. Limber up for a minute, just a minute. Oops, I see it, okay, well,
We're speaking.
first of all,
John, could you identify yourself?
that's about what I was going to do. I was wondering what microphone I should be looking at when I speak.
Plug this thing here.
Okay.
Right here.
Here's
My
mine.
name is John Gillen, and I live on Sand Hill Road. I've lived on Sand Hill Road for about 40 years. And I've come to ask the board not to approve this motion. And I want you not to approve it for 3 reasons. Because I think it's in the best interest of the town to start over. 2, I think it's in the best interest of the neighborhood not to have a 99 unit or a 108 unit. I keep calling it an apartment house, senior living facility is what you call it in the neighborhood. And the third one is, and I know you won't believe this right this second, my friend, but I think it's in the best interest of Hale and Hale to just stop here. Now, in terms of the town, and I speak for a number of people on Sand Hill Road, but not everybody on Sand Hill Road. There's a group of us who have been talking, a number of people who've just said, well, we don't want to be part of that group. But it's a good group, and we've been talking. And in any event, it just seems to us that there's so much about the present process that's flawed or just sort of not transparent, not open. Just examples of where the process just seems so closed and tight to us. In the material that, well, you gave the board and Mary Lee gave me a copy of, there was a group of people who went to Dave Walk and said, Dave, we have an idea. The idea is, why don't you give us the land on Sand Hill Road and we'll use it for economic development. And I wonder, who actually went to see Dave Walk? What person or persons went there?
I did.
good, okay. And who are you representing, my
I
friend?
was representing myself at that time. In fact, I ran into him while he was buying Christmas presents at Charlie Brown's farm stand.
He's a good man, he would do that. Well, okay, that's good, and I'm glad you went, and it's an interesting idea. But
Thank
what
you.
I mean by closed is, it might have been the kind of an idea that might have had fuller discussion in the town. For instance, economic development has its place, but so does, keeping the agricultural, well, you just said, the fellow just said, whoever he is, just said that, keeping the agriculture that we have here. So it could have been, let's use it for agriculture, Dave. Or let's use it to put some modestly priced houses. Or let's use it for a community garden. Could have been lots of possibilities. And so you go and see Dave, and Dave's an agreeable guy, and so you say, this is fine. But it could have been more open, my friend. It could have been. And then so you have that, and it goes through the process, and then all of a sudden it goes to the zoning committee or the planning committee. And then there again, that was right in the sort of the peak of COVID. So, people weren't really going to rush to a committee meeting. They weren't going to do that. But the thought, at least in our world, there needed to be some changes to the zoning rules. We could be wrong there, but there maybe needed to be some changes. Well, what were those suggested changes, and how were they actually implemented? And was the town really informed of what these changes would be? Did that have to do with the PUDs? Because I keep having to look up what PUDs mean. What does it mean exactly? It means, oh, help me out, Joe, what does PUD mean?
Planned unit development.
Planned unit development, thank you, planned unit development. So, but a lot of people don't know that. And certainly nobody on Sand Hill Road knew it was coming. So we think that the process, if you started over, the process could be more open, and there could be other possibilities, and lots of other people would be involved. Well, that's for the town. And then with the neighborhood, well, for heaven's sakes, I mean, the neighborhood, what we keep asking ourselves is, who made the judgment that this building, which looks to me like a kind of Hampton Inn, would fit into an area that's agricultural and residential? Who made that judgment? Who specifically said, yes, that will fit? And because we don't agree, we don't think it will fit. If it's a house that holds 10 or 15 people, so be it. But it's going to have 99 units, is what you call them. Half of them just senior living, just independent living, right? Half of them are independent living. So that, let's just suppose you've got 99 rooms. Let's suppose that half of them have couples, just suppose, and then half of them don't. Well, then, you're going to have roughly 100 people associated with couples, and you're going to have 50 that are single, so we got 150 people living there. That's going to add to the traffic, which has always troubled me, because they're going to have their cars, they're going to go and they're going to come. The workers are going to go and they're going to come. The people who are going to bring food and oil and FedEx material, they're going to go up and down the road. And the problem is many of the people who do that are in effect speeding. They're just going too fast. And now we're going to have more people going too fast. And we know about that because if you remember Spectrum was there for about 5 years. And the workers would be always late, so they're speeding to get there. And then they're just sick of being in Spectrum, so they speed home, and everybody's speeding on Sand Hill Road. And we got enough people doing that, so we don't like the traffic. Plus, I got to mention to you, there's at least, again, the thought that there's a young lady who wants to set up a daycare for 90 people at the beginning of Sand Hill Road. Well, little kids don't drive, so they're going to have to be driven to daycare, then they're going to have to be driven back. And
Sir, is it possible you might summarize it?
oh, thank you. Okay, I
Appreciate that.
Can I just
I'm sure
do
we all-
just two things? I don't know, just two things quickly.
That's okay.
Okay, the first one is we have to talk about water, because the water pipes are a problem. They are a problem on Sand Hill Road. In the last month, they broke twice. There's a plan to see if they can't be replaced, but they don't have any money to replace them. So first we got to find the money to replace the pipes, and then that could take 2 years, 5
Sir,
years, 6
those
years.
are all things that should be brought to the DRB. I mean, with the
Okay,
DRB hearing.
well, but you're being asked, let me finish just because I'll go
All we're
quick.
dealing with is the request for the extension.
That's right, and I'm saying don't honor it. It's the best thing for the town, for the neighbors, and for Hale and Hale ever so quickly, and I'll stop with Hale and Hale. I don't think you're gonna fill it. I know you think you will, I don't think you will. I never have thought you will. They thought they were gonna fill Vista, and they didn't do it. The Maples usually has vacancies. There's something like 22 facilities in Rutland County that deal with older people. So I just really think you guys are in a great position in Joe the Pro. If you just followed Joe the Pro, worked with Lyle Jepson, you'd be all right, and you'd look at Castleton and you'd say, come on, guys, start over, which is what John wants you to do. Thank you for listening. I know it took a while, but it was my shot and I took it, so thank you.
Good shot.
Thank you, buddy, thank you. Good.
Katie, are you going to be brief?
Aye. I brought a typed statement, so it'd be easy to include it in the meeting minutes. So my name is Katie Culpo, and I come before you tonight to ask each of you to also vote no on the Hale request for a contract amendment. The fourth wasn't in it, so it really is a contract amendment. Or at a minimum, take no action on the request tonight. Seek legal advice on how best to move forward and if this is in the best interest of Castleton. Mike, I know you already said you sought legal advice, but is this in the best interest of Castleton? And take time to seriously reconsider this project on Sand Hill Road. There are many reasons to pause and reconsider the sale of this property and the construction of a 4-story, 99-unit senior living facility on Sand Hill Road, and here are just a few. The purchase price no longer represents fair market value. We know COVID has shot up prices, so 18 acres with town water, sewer, and easy electricity hookup. I think that purchase price could be a lot higher. Residential housing, which is the majority of this project, is not economic development. This is a 4-unit story unit, 49-unit rental, independent living. 32 units are assisted living, and 18 units are memory care. So we like to call it senior living. This is not skilled nursing. This is a rental unit, a 4-story rental unit on Sand Hill Road in an ag district and residential. The memory care facility, I believe it is private pay. We haven't gotten details yet on exactly how much this is going to cost. I know in the fall meeting we asked for that, like what will be the rent of these units? And the memory care, I know when my mom was in private pay, it was about $7,000 a month for private pay memory care. So it's not going to bring in a ton of extra jobs like they say it is. The Castleton Town Plan and the Rutland County plans have identified affordable housing as a priority. However, this is not affordable housing. Hence, it does not support the most recent Rutland County needs assessment findings. Yes, there is a need for senior housing, and it's in our plan, and it's in the Rutland County plan, but it's affordable. The estimates of taxes generated have been inflated. That came out in other meetings. We need to take some time to really get accurate numbers of what tax revenue this is going to bring in to our town. And I know in Berlin, there's been articles in the paper of how that's kind of playing out. Hale and Hale have not provided the DRB with anything since last fall. We had a lot of questions and they were going to come back, but here we are, and they're asking for an extension. So their attention and commitment to this project in our community should be questioned. We might just need to push pause and really just think about where we're at right now, 2 or 3 years later. The water, we continue to fear the size and quality. I know you say it's a DRB issue. I live on Sand Hill Road, so the solar panels that you talked about, that's all I see on one side of me now. And the water, just 2 weeks ago, we were getting the call from Terry Fowler, another water main break. So just in the past month, we've had 2, right on Sand Hill Road, 2. And transparency, as John mentioned, there were many zoning changes to accommodate this project, and many of them happened during COVID. Castleton residents are not informed of this project, and when you talk to them, they're shocked when they hear the size of the building on Sand Hill Road. God works in strange ways. I'm shopping yesterday. A woman, she lives in Castleton, and she was a key part. She was one of the co-authors of the Rutland County Needs Assessment. She said, yeah, Katie, it's in there. Affordable housing. I said, yeah, they're going to put a 4-unit story on Sand Hill Road. She's like, what? She'd never even heard of it. So I don't think the town really is clear on what's happening, what's going on. So in conclusion, please vote no to the contract amendment tonight, or take no action tonight, and please take time to really reconsider the sale of this land and the worth of this project to the town of Castleton. If the select board considers an amendment, please seek legal advice and guidance to assure the town's interests are represented before accepting the purchaser's proposed amendment. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Katie.
Jim,
Yes.
would we make a copy of that as to the minutes?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Anything else on this?
That's an extra copy. Did you take
Yeah,
that?
this is Wayne Pickett. I'd like to add my comments to it. I'd like to add to John, and John and Katie both spoke for most of the residents here. We did have a major water leak, two major water leaks at the same time within a couple of days of each other on the road. It took all day Sunday to get it fixed. The water ran freely from Friday till Sunday, till it got bad enough that they actually went in and fixed it. We have a fire hydrant that hasn't been operated for over 2 years due to pipe and plumbing and issues with the pipes. And now you're gonna add this facility with, is gonna have a lot of water use, especially with the senior and the hospitalized folks. I don't think it's fair to compare this with Berlin. It's a completely different setup. Berlin is in a commercial area right at the entrance to the mall. It's got access to facilities in the mall within walking distance of the facility. It's got open spaces. There's no homes in that area that are impacted with it. It's not a residential area. There's medical services within a reasonable distance. That's the other part of this, is with this facility, we expect that we will potentially have ambulances as often as daily for any of those special care patients. If they fall, they have to have an ambulance. They can't just be put back in bed. It's just not the right spot for the facility. And I haven't seen anyone working on it, looking at any of the stuff that we were promised. We were told that they would do a traffic study. I've not seen anything counting traffic. They were supposed to look at the water. I haven't seen anything done to that. And if you look at the land up there, that land has been wet all winter long. It was either iced over or full of water. That's a very heavy wetland. So I just wanted to add that to what Katie and John had said. I think you guys really should take a moment and reevaluate this and see if it's really what the whole town of Castleton wants. It's really an eyesore for everyone that lives in the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, is there a motion?
Hello, my name is Laura Desjardins. May I please speak on the Sand Hill project as well?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. One of the select board members had asked for the address to go visit, and following up on what Wayne said, I would really encourage you to do that. I was there recently. And the aesthetics of that region where it is placed is fundamentally very different than anything in our town of Castleton. Even if we were to place this near the medical center, it would feel very out of place. I live a good distance from it, but I echo the other residents' concerns. There's ledge in there. That property has wonderful value for so many things that would benefit our community. To include senior housing, perhaps nonprofit or other. Additionally, the select board encouraged us to go to the DRB with this, which we have. However, I think it's worth noting that the select board wrote a letter of support for this project. And so we thought that perhaps it would be relevant to bring this to your ear. Since you wrote a letter to the DRB encouraging them to seriously consider this project when it was brought to them. Additionally, an extension on their due diligence does not mean that they can't move forward with the project. It just gives the town an opportunity to renegotiate the contract, and it's done very commonly in real estate, especially over extended periods of time when contracts are kind of stuck in a holding pattern for various reasons. When the market changes, when the situation changes, such as water problems on the road, increase in market value of the property, it allows the seller, the town, to benefit from those changes. And if the purchaser is still interested, which I would imagine that Hale and Hale is, as they are so vested in it, it would only benefit us. The idea that they would walk away from a renegotiation at this point seems silly, and to not attempt it seems foolhardy, in my opinion, as a taxpayer. I would like to see the board consider a modification of the agreement in lieu of a blanket extension.
Thank you. Anyone else? wishes to discuss this topic? Yes, Mary?
Mary McIntyre. I just have a question. So, here in this town, we have Castleton Meadows, which is for senior citizen housing, and they're on fixed incomes. And we continually see that our fire department and our Castleton Cares, our food shelf, is delivering food to those folks. Is that gonna be what happens, that our food shelf that is of limited resources now, are we gonna have to help this new population? And also, do we have the ambulance services prepared and ready to accommodate 99, potentially 99 households? Do we have that?
John or Zach, would you care to respond to that?
We would not be proposing this facility if we didn't have the resources to provide these residents
John,
food.
Zach, could you speak a little louder so we can pick it up here,
We
please?
wouldn't be we wouldn't be trying to provide, put all these people into this building if we couldn't provide them food. So we will definitely have the resources to give them adequate meals. And we are actually proposing that to build a ambulance service on this, which would include a 2-bay ambulance garage with an apartment, because something that we've discussed in DRB meetings and with talks with Mike, but before that he's identified that we don't have an ambulance service in Castleton. The closest one is either in Rutland or Fairhaven, and so we thought that this would be a very good benefit for the community as well.
And would Hale and Hale be paying for that?
We have not come to an agreement on how that would be paid for at this time.
Okay, and aren't some of these apartments, aren't they in fact just apartments? They're not affiliated with a cafeteria?
No, there is a cafeteria in the facility, and it's a continuing care facility. So the idea is that you go in there when you can no longer take care of your home or something anymore, and you need to be in a independent living situation where you can stay there and then move into assisted living when you need that, and then stay in a memory care facility when you need that. Like my grandmother passed away a month ago. She came from Florida. She was a perfectly capable woman, but moved into a facility that was close to her daughter, so that she had a place that, she didn't have to worry about a house and stuff. And then when she couldn't feed herself and stuff anymore, she went into an assisted living facility, and she started having people take care of her. And then when she couldn't function at all, she went into hospice care. So that is the type of thing that we're trying to provide. It's not an apartment living situation. It's not only going to allow people to come and move into this and have assistance in their life, but it's also going to free up some of the housing stock in Castleton. There's a huge housing crisis. No one needs to be told that. And if this is 99 units, that could be 99. I just told the selectmen here that we're going to have people from 5 miles away or 10 miles away coming to this facility. That's going to free up a lot of housing and hopefully assist with some of the housing crisis we have. So, there's a lot of benefits to this too. You could talk about the water. You could talk about...
Can I just clarify one thing? So just to be clear in my mind, so these people aren't going to be cooking for themselves?
No. There'll be a facility for them to cook, but there'll be a cafeteria in the facility. It's John Hale, Allison, from Hale Resources.
So they won't be grocery shopping?
Some may do that.
Okay, so they may be in need of food. You guys are gonna do a cafeteria type thing?
Yes.
But if they wanna cook for themselves, they may need food?
Yeah, they will have the opportunity to go to the grocery store and pick up food if they would like, and they will have a kitchen.
In the independent units, that is correct.
Right,
yes.
So the independent units are an apartment with a kitchen that.
Hold it.
It's a place to.
Hold it.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
John and
That's fine.
Zach and Mary, are you two all set now?
So just for clarification, so I'm older, I can live in an independent apartment there, and financially I could be on a very limited income and not be able to afford groceries, and Hale is gonna provide me groceries?
There's income requirements to actually live in this facility.
So
Wait, what was that?
their income,
Well, it's not an affordable unit. That is not one of the elements of this facility.
clarify that for me?
Well, affordable housing is that you have to be below a certain percent of the average median household income, and that you have to you can only spend a certain amount of money on your rent. So there are restrictions in any type of rental and anywhere in Vermont that require a certain income limit. So this is not gonna be grant funded, that you have to provide affordable housing. That has never been pursued here, that has never been said that we're gonna do that.
Okay.
But there is a need for housing across every income level. I mean, we manage 200 units in Bennington, and we provide affordable housing, we provide market rate housing. There's a need for everything. And honestly, market rate housing is a lot harder to come by.
Okay, we're gonna have to move on shortly. One more person and that's it.
Oh, this is very quick, just a question to.
Oh, yes, sir.
The question is, how much are you gonna charge someone to live in an independent unit? And how much will it cost when they live in assisted? And if there's a third unit, what will that cost per month?
We don't currently have that information. It's a changing market every day. And
What about in Berlin? What does it cost there?
it's a different market, and I don't have that information for you at this time.
You don't have what Berlin is gonna charge?
I don't personally have that information, no.
You don't
We're not
know
the
what
operators,
Castleton-
sir.
What's that?
You don't know what Castleton will charge. If it gets built, you don't know what that is either.
I don't have the numbers at this time, no.
You don't have it, you don't have it. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion regarding the request for an extension as presented?
Look at me. I have no idea what we're gonna do here.
We're not asking you guys to approve this project or not. We're only asking to give us some
understand
more
that.
time to answer the questions that they are raising and provide more transparency in a DRB meeting so that we can do our due diligence. That's all we're asking for at this time.
So part of the DRB meeting is water usage, sewer permitting, because that's gonna be a state requirement. The traffic study is required in order for us to get permitting through the state. Stormwater runoff, stormwater retention. I mean, these are all things that will come as the development happens because it's required in order to get the state permitting, and we have to present it to the DRB in order to say, hey, this is what we are planning on doing. This is the items that we need to do our due diligence on to get the Act 250 permitting.
Okay, thank you.
I have
Just-
one question.
I'm sorry. No, you've recused
Yes, I
yourself.
can.
You have recused yourself. I'm sorry, Mary Lee.
No, it's
You
in the
have
book.
you have
Right here.
recused
It's in
yourself.
your book.
Pardon?
It is in your book, right here, that you gave.
I'm not going back to this.
Can we ask Joe if that's?
Joe, you're the parliamentarian.
Yes, she can participate from the floor.
From the floor.
That's where
That's
she
what I
was.
was doing.
That's where she was too.
On this home for various levels. Now you've interrupted my mind. There seems to be my biggest complaint is that we didn't know anything that was going on. And whether it's the select board's blame, planning commission's blame, or whatever, it seems like too much stuff was done undercover and no transparency. And that's a big concern.
Mary, I have been talking about this project for 5 years. I've come and spoken publicly in select board meetings. There was an article in the Rutland Herald 3 years ago, and I've given as much transparency as I could. Working with the town, nothing has happened behind closed doors. Now, I can assure you that I think we had 1 or 2 meetings in executive session because that is what the normal systems and procedures are for real estate. And I think that is when we negotiated the purchase and sales agreement. But that is I would expect to do business behind closed doors in that type of an event. But other than that, and now you have that the results of that conversation are here in your hand. I mean, we've been as transparent as we can be throughout this entire process. I've talked to everybody in this community when I was going to school here. I don't think I've been secretive about it at all. I mean, have you talked to Joanne Riley about me speaking with her? I went and sat down with her and asked her these questions, if she thought this was a good idea. She was part of the reason that I pursued this project.
I have not talked to Joanne Riley about this. I've talked about a lot of things, but not about this.
I encourage you to ask her about our conversation, because it did happen, and she was one of the ones that encouraged me. Because the idea was that that was another asset to this community that could work with this facility, other than the school.
One other thing which has really nothing to do with you is records have not been made available. It's been 6 months since records were asked for. They have 10 days to give the records, and they have not been made available 6 months later.
What records are you referring to, Mary Lee?
All records to do with anything to do with Sand Hill project.
I believe the zoning administrator and the staff have worked diligently to provide any and all records.
They have not.
Is there anything specific that you were referring to?
I have given it to Mike. I've talked to Mike on this before. I talked to Jonas on this before. Jonas claims that he did not write a letter. In the minutes, it says he did write a letter. Then he says, well, he doesn't read the minutes, so.
Well, who did he write the letter to?
He wrote the letter, I believe, to DRB. I'm not exactly sure.
Then the 5 members of the DRB should have a copy of the letter.
That may be true.
There's a difference between writing a letter and passing on information that comes to him directed to the DRB. As far as I know, the zoning administrator, Jonas Rosenthal, has never written a letter endorsing any project or opposing it.
He has not provided the different articles that were asked for.
He can't provide a letter that doesn't exist.
Okay. Never mind the letter.
Now let's never mind the letter. Okay.
What else has he not given?
Right now, if I can.
Sure, Mike, go ahead.
So I did meet with Mary Lee and I met with Jonas, and I've been dealing with this issue with Brenda Fleming, who's Mary Lee's daughter. There appears there's some documents missing. There were some things that were sent that had the odd pages, but the even pages were missing. And Jonas had that scanned, or gave it to me to scan, which I sent to Brenda. So there's some pages that are missing there that we agreed that we need to go back and send those. But I would say, I can't give you an honest percentage, because I don't know how many pieces of paper total, but I bet you we're 80 to above of what we've given them, but we can't give them what we don't know about. Only anything that we could find, but we were behind on the minutes from the planning commission meetings for like a year. So those got, put together and posted, so that took some time that Jonas had to gather all that information and put them together. We've had our woes. Everyone can know about having board secretaries to take minutes. We suffered through that with COVID. But we're on track to give Brenda what she's asked for. Jonas and I are working on it this week, so we should be, I ordered the tax stabilization policy. I did tell you that. So I think by this week, we should be caught up.
Any others? I could comment some more, but I won't. Okay, is there a motion?
Take a stab at it, Rick.
Well, I'm not prepared to make a motion at this time. You're not? Is anyone? Okay, I guess there's no motion, gentlemen. We'll move on to the next item.
Thanks for your time, everybody, tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I don't see Pete on.
Got Pete?
No,
Yes,
he's
there.
He's
Pete's
there.
still waiting?
Where's he at?
He's up there.
I'm right here.
Oh, I see, okay.
Go ahead, Pete.
All right. Well, good evening, boards and fellow members and residents. You got a copy of my report. I'm just going to go through it pretty quickly. If you have any questions for March, calls of service, we're up a little bit. probably because the weather was getting warmer, so there was some more stuff going on. We did have an increase of theft complaints, which 5 of them were converters in March. And the other ones were other things. Any questions on the service calls?
Mr. Chairman?
No questions on the service calls.
Joe has one for you, Pete.
What do you mean when you say a theft is a converter?
Well, March, we had 5 catalytic converters taken in town.
Okay.
It's been statewide, it's been a national thing, it's all over, so they go in spurts. And actually, I think 3 of them came from the town, actually. Town vehicles.
Thank you.
So that was an increase. We haven't had anything this month on it. So going for the criminal arrests, they say about the same. You know, we had 10 last month for criminal arrests. Nothing that stood out. That's different than what we normally have. A couple more retail theft, which with all the stores we do have, that's pretty common. Total tickets, as you can see, written warnings, and calls of service to the university. As it gets warmer, it's going to pick up more and more. That's about the same in March. April, May, you're going to see the numbers go up a little bit. This is just a backup that we provided, basically just a Fairhaven. And on the last, any questions on those things that I covered on those?
Doesn't seem to be.
No questions on that. So if you look at, we've really done a pretty good job this year for the noise ordinances. Justin I had him put together the town, or the locations where we have issued these violations. You can see where they're located. They're all pretty located within walking distance. They're all within the village, with the exception of 1512 Main Street, which is actually across from Precision Auto. We're still doing our property checks, business checks for patrols. St. Patrick's Day was a real busy day for us. We had about 4 Department of Liquor Control investigators working with us that night, and then you can see what the results were. We did have the Scorpion Bowl party, which was not this weekend, but the weekend prior. That wasn't too bad. Actually, rain kind of subdued that one until about 6 o'clock. And as we prepare for the spring coming up, graduation in 3 weeks. So, and the weather gets warmer, so we're going to see probably a little more activity. But one of the things I'm seeing a lot more of the students, the off-campus students, coming down and talking to me about actual parties and what they need to look for, which I'm really impressed with, actually, more than usual. So communication's been a big piece of that. And that is it for now. Any questions on anything else?
Any questions for Peter?
Yes, sir.
Bob? I do have one. Pete, did you want to comment on I read an article in the Spartan paper about stuff being put on, I don't know even how to put it. There were stickers on poles and stuff up there. Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, it's called a Patriot Homefront stickers that were put on there. Public Safety contacted me, which is their protocol. They found them in the morning. There were four poles. If you Google the actual organization, are they militaristic? I don't know. I did look at the website. There's no leads. We know that universities and colleges are huge recruiting grounds for any organization, for that matter. They have no leads. I have no leads. I don't know who did it, whether it was somebody that was non-residential or was it a student. Their cameras didn't show anything, so at some point it happened during the night So that's all I can tell you on that, Bob.
Okay.
Any other questions for Peter? If not, thank you very much, Peter.
All right, thank you, Board.
We'll move on to the Bridge Committee, project viewing spot and trail. Bill Wood. Bill, I guess you're on Zoom?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go.
Good evening, and I'm Bill Wood. I'm a resident of Castleton and a member of the Bridge Committee. In July 2018, we wrote a letter to Mike Jones about a Castleton River overlook as an initial step toward establishing a walking path along the river in the village. That I think you have copies of that letter in your pack that we sent in. The Bridge Committee is still interested in establishing the river overlook and some kind of walking path along the river. For most of its length in Castleton, the river is inaccessible and pretty much invisible except where it's crossed by bridges. And none of those places provide a safe area to just view and listen to the river. The Bridge Committee hopes to partially remedy this situation by establishing a small area where the river can be safely seen and heard. Conveniently, there's an area located on town land where Dewey Field adjoins the river, due north of the tennis courts. This is a lovely spot on the river, crystal clear water, wide, shallow gravel bottom, overhanging trees that allow light to filter down onto the water. The land's about 3 to 4 feet above normal water level, and the vegetation consists of mature trees and some underbrush. The amount of effort to establish this overlook on the part of the town would be minimal. It would be to mow a short path from Dewey Field to this overlook area and then mow it every time that Dewey Field is mowed. The Bridge Committee's planning on clearing some brush and trash in the area using CU students and volunteers. And we do this on cleanup day, May 7th. If the select board approves. On May 5th, Zapata Carriage, DEC wetlands ecologists will meet us at the overlook to survey the proposed walking path along the river from Mill Street to North Road. You have a map, I think, in your information pack that shows the walking path. She will let us know if there are any wetland issues and how they should be addressed. Once we have her report, we'll discuss with the zoning administrator. And then if there are no insurmountable issues, we'll bring our findings and plans to the select board and ask for approval of the path. If established, the walking path would form a loop at the current dead end of the rail trail, down Mill Street, along the river, to North Road, and by 2 different routes, back up to Main Street, through the town or through the campus, and then back to the rail trail. The path would run across the Taggart property at the bottom of Mill Street. They've given tentative approval. And this stretch of the river is rich in industrial history of Castleton, including the Union Grist Mill and the iron furnace and a few other operations in years past. The original dam and head race are still detectable in the landscape upstream, and the old millstones are located behind the cobbler shop. Castleton Historical Society will compile a brief history of the area and make it available through signage and a brochure. The amount of effort needed to establish the walking path on the part of the town would be very minimal and probably no more than maintaining that mode access to the overlook spot. We would brush clear about a 4 or 5 foot wide path along the river. That would be done by CU students and volunteers. No live trees over an inch or so would be cut. No rock, no gravel, no mulch, no hard pack, no boardwalks, and no riverbank disturbance will be required. The path will simply follow the existing contour of the land and meander among the trees. The path clearing could begin in August of this year with CU students and volunteers, which would allow us to open that primitive path to the public soon thereafter. Thank you for your attention and consideration, and I'll be happy to answer any question you have.
Bill, I'm sorry, but we don't seem to have anything in our packet as to the maps or anything other than the fact that you were going to make the presentation. But you made an excellent presentation. Any questions from the board?
What is it that Bill needs from us? Just, I don't understand, I don't really know what are you looking for, Bill?
For now, what we would like is your permission or approval to clear up the viewing spot of brush and any trash we find on May 7th.
So moved.
Is there a motion? Joe?
I would move that we express our support for the project that Bill has detailed, at least for phase 1, which is the creation of a viewing area just north of Dewey Field.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And a second. Discussion. Dick?
I have a very large concern about erosion in this case. I'm not opposed to the project. I think it's a great idea, but I want to make sure that when they do this, it's with the proper knowledge and supervision, if it needs to be supervised by DEC or whoever, to make sure that the vegetation isn't removed from the bank in such a way that it would enable the brook to erode. Other than that, I have no concerns other than that. And if the walking trail, once again, as well, as that's properly engineered so that we don't have erosion issues, I'm not opposed, but I'm not in favor of just having somebody go in there and cut brush down all the way to the river, and then all of a sudden the bank starts wearing away and we add silt and sediment to the river and we erode the bank.
Bill, can you answer that question, that comment?
Yeah, we will have the DEC person, the wetlands person there on May 5th, and she will look at both the viewing spot and the area where we plan the path. And we will follow any of her directions to the letter as far as vegetation goes, or if she says, no, you can't run the path in this area, that will be fine.
Okay, those are my concerns.
Okay.
I had the same concerns. Bill said the path was gonna follow the river. I grew up my whole entire life on the Poultney River, and there was paths along the Poultney River. From one year to the next, that path would disappear. I mean, I'm not second guessing the state DEC or whoever there, but I hope they're well-trained on what the river can do and does do. That was my only concern. When you said the path was gonna follow the contour of the river, Bill, that's, that was my only concern.
Okay. Mary Lee?
It will stay fairly far back from the edge of the river, so it's not gonna be right on the bank. The part along the Taggart property is actually very high. It's about 10 feet above the river. Once you get back to the town property between Taggart and Dewey Field, that gets lower, and it's about 4 to 5 feet above the river.
Okay? Any other questions from the board? No. Mike, you had something, or no? You just waving?
Board's done.
You waving?
If the board was done, I had.
You got a question, or, go ahead.
Bill, I don't have the map in front of me, I apologize, but the town doesn't own all that property through there, and that's been brought up in the past, that the outfield of the baseball field is where it's also the soccer field, and that's not town property, and I brought that up in the past with Bridge, and so I have to make sure that we're on the same sheet of music as far as where we're going, to make sure it's actually on town property.
Yeah, until and unless we're able to get a hold of that property owner, we would simply walk the grassy edge of Dewey Field until we do get to town property.
Right, and then we just have to put the mowing part, it's not a very big area, I know they're talking about the mow, I've been down there looking at it. It's just getting whoever we hire to mow Dewey Field to make sure that stays down as well.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Joe?
Is any of this project in the wellhead protection area?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what was that?
He asked if any of the project was in the wellhead protection area. I'm not, actually, let me rephrase that, Bruno. I'm not sure if it's in the wellhead protection area, it's on the aquifer. I'd have to look at where
There's a 500-foot radius around that well.
yeah, we're skirting it if we,
Just know you're gonna hear from the water operator if you're in that area.
yeah, we've talked to them, as long as they're not like having animals on there and defecating and, doing stuff like that, they've been pretty good.
From having their meets down there
Because of the horses, yeah.
because of the Wellhead Protection Act.
Yeah, we took that out, so they're not doing anything with horses there anymore.
Any other questions, comments? Is there a motion?
There already was, right?
We got the motion, we got the second.
I seconded it.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you all.
Move on to Tim Munks' reappointment, Otter Creek Communications Unit District. I believe we have something in our packet on that.
Is Tim with us? Is he with us on Zoom?
I don't believe so.
No?
I don't see him.
No.
But I didn't see Pete either, so that doesn't mean anything.
I can tell you that he's pretty active in this whole issue.
Yeah, yeah. You heard him the other night.
Okay, he has indicated that he is willing to continue to serve in that capacity. Is there a motion? Joe?
I would move that we appoint Tim Munks as the town of Castleton's representative to the Otter Creek Communications Unit District.
I'll second.
And a second discussion?
Just a comment that would probably should be added to this list. And when the term is expired.
Yeah. Go.
The document that Tim provided calls for the appointment of an alternate as well. I don't think we have a recommendation for such a person. So, is that, perhaps, Mike, you could speak with Tim about that, see if he has a recommendation?
I can.
Okay. All righty. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Local Emergency Management Plan, request approval. Mike? I believe this is your baby.
Sorry, let's make a note.
All set.
So I already found one error in here. There's no enclosure 7. That's the tier 2 sites, and those are all online now, so I'd have to strike that out of there. So if you were considering approving this, it would be with that change. But this is annual. There wasn't a lot of changes to it this year. Karen's still doing some work for me on some of the phone numbers, but tomorrow she's gonna go through, and There's some things that we didn't get an answer on, so we had to follow through, but other than that, we'd just be changing a phone number, and I'm not really sure how excited you are about worrying about a phone number. But we will do our due diligence to make sure that those ones that we couldn't get anybody to answer, we'll run to the ground and make sure it's still a valid business or a valid phone number.
Mr. Chairman, do you want typos corrections now or later after we, during the
You'll
discussion?
soon have it now.
Okay, on page 2, the very top line, after the first comma, it says, in more instances than not, it will a recommendation from these same individuals. It should be, it will be a recommendation.
Okay.
So the word be should be inserted there.
All right?
That was the only thing I found.
Okay. Joe?
I found about half a dozen or so, but none of them is substantive. So I would just be inclined to hand this to Mike and say, I would move that we approve this in principle.
Okay.
Yeah, the changes are on that.
I'll second that motion. That's a motion?
Yeah.
That's the motion and a second. Discussion? Any other discussion? Bob?
Okay.
Mary Lee?
Fine.
You're fine? Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye with corrections.
Aye.
Bob, you're in it this year. You see that?
I'm in it this year.
Yeah, you made it this year.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Last year, your name wasn't in there, so we omitted it, but
Oh.
it's in there.
Oh, no. I got signed up for something.
Okay, CDERAC presentation for the new website, Christine Ryan.
Mary McIntyre, chairperson of the CDERAC committee. She is on, but we've had some information that came to us just before this meeting that is making us rethink our presentation. So we don't want to misspeak at all, so we're going to regroup and come
Okay.
back at you with something else.
You come back to the board.
With better,
Sure. Okay,
better
Mary.
facts. We were not aware, we were not able to get in touch with anybody with the Vermont Lakes Chamber of Commerce. I
Okay.
mean, they were like ghosts. We could not contact them. And today, lo and behold, I found a contact and I got somebody to answer the phone. So in our presentation, we mentioned that we hadn't been able to make contact with them. So we're gonna meet with them and try and work with them before we come to
Okay.
our presentation.
Thank you very much. Moving on.
Do we need a motion to table it?
No.
No.
We don't, no, I don't see why we need anything.
It's not gonna do anything.
Okay.
You're all set, Mary.
Okay. Well, I'm here. Did you want to speak on those bylaws or no? You go with those.
How's the board
You're-
feel?
You're all set with that?
Let's do that at the next meeting, too.
Yeah.
That should be an agenda item.
Yeah. An agenda item for whenever you're ready, Mary.
Okay, thank you.
Lions Club request, use of the town green for the annual auction. We could probably vote this down to her, can't we?
Or not.
I make a motion that we allow them to use the town green for their annual auction.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Someone will notify Lions
I
Stand
didn't think
Hatch.
that one would take.
We
a
will
long
do
time.
that.
Okay. Liz Bird, appointment to CDERAC, 2 years, which was tabled from the last meeting. My recollection was we tabled it because of the fact that we didn't have the terms, we weren't sure of the terms. Is there a motion on this?
I'd like to, I don't know how to word it. Seeing how CDERAC is pretty much full, I'd like to suggest that we ask her that maybe she would go on the planning commission that needs somebody.
Any other thoughts? Mike, did you have a?
Yeah, she's not here all year round. I think you'd have a rough time with I talked to her about the planning commission, or other boards. I didn't say the planning commission, I guess. But I don't know. I'm not sure what the requirements are for the planning commission as far as residency and all that stuff.
We just need bodies. But I could make a suggestion. We don't have any alternates that I know of. You can ask the chair. But if we don't have any alternates, she could certainly be appointed as an alternate. We had another lady showed up at our last meeting. That's something else. I have to agree with our chair. I think Liz should come to a meeting and see what we're all about.
The only thing I want to say about that, Joe, is, I'll address the board, is if you do it for one, please do it for all. Because if you just appointed Tim Munks and he wasn't here, and it happens other appointments as well. It's been.
Tim's an incumbent.
He is, okay, I'll retract that one. But there's other appointments the board has made that the person has not been interviewed by the board or come before the board. And
Joe?
I think Joe's.
That answer your question, Joe? You're all set? Okay.
I thought Joe was
Mark.
suggesting that people who are interested in joining a commission or board should attend the commission or board before being appointed.
That's what I understood it to be too.
Okay.
I would be in favor of that.
So what's your pleasure on this?
Can we make her an alternate to start with?
The bylaws don't, there's nothing in those bylaws, that's why we need to rewrite them. There's nothing in the bylaws about an alternate.
Can I ask Mary a question?
Sure.
Mary, did Liz attend last Thursday? I have to apologize, I didn't make it
No,
for.
she did not. Beth Murphy did, Beth Murphy.
Have you talked to Liz Bird?
No, I included her in on a email to invite her, and I put on the agenda that she was a guest, and because I was told, I haven't been in contact, she hasn't contacted me. I've heard through Mike, so I got her email through Karen, and I sent her the agenda with Beth Murphy and Liz Bird as guests on the agenda.
So your bylaws don't allow, excuse me, Mr. Chair, your bylaws don't allow an alternate, is that what you just said, Mary?
Well, it doesn't mention it.
Joe?
I'm not sure that I want to suggest this be a policy pertaining to all boards and commissions, but I think wherever a body such as CDERAC or the chair of CDERAC wants to request that we not appoint anyone until that individual has either attended a meeting or met with the chair, we should defer to that preference.
Is that your preference, Mary?
That would work fine. I met with Beth Murphy over the phone. I mean, in today's world, that's what we're doing a lot of, so, yeah. And then she came to the meeting and she got to see what we were and she didn't vote on anything, but she added some good value to the meeting. I just know that we've had at least one member come. We even gave some items to, never showed back up. I mean, that's not, never stuck his head in a meeting before. And then we never saw him again, never had any communication with him again. So I think it's just, for everyone's time, I think that's the way to go.
So we're discussing Liz Bird's appointment right now. What's your preference, Mary? Would you like to wait a month and have her attend a meeting first?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that would be good. I think it would be equal to Beth Murphy.
And I'm going to make a motion, we table Liz Bird's appointment to CDERAC for another month.
Would you also include in your motion that someone communicate with her, ask her to attend a meeting?
Can I have her telephone number? And I've never been given her telephone number.
Sure.
I'll text it to you.
Okay, and
Okay.
the other thing that I just think we have to be careful with is that there is in the bylaws, it mentions 3 unexcused missed meetings and up to 5 they can be dismissed. And if we have people who don't live in this town, isn't that setting us up to fail?
Are you doing meetings by Zoom, Mary?
Yes, we are. You're absolutely right. We are.
Then anyone who can't make or couldn't be at the meeting could do it by Zoom, right?
They could.
Okay.
Mary, you also said unexcused absence?
It said, yeah.
So if they
But-
called you and said they couldn't make it because they're in Florida, that's an excuse, and you say, okay, That's an
Well,
excused
that's the
absence.
other thing I'm asking for is a definition on excused, because I don't want to be splitting hairs.
Fair enough.
Okay. So the pleasure of the board is?
We have a motion, I will second
Well,
Dick's
okay.
motion.
And the motion is
The table,
table, and table till the next meeting?
no, till next month, for a month.
For a month, okay. And the request that Mary's going to contact the person and go from there. All right. Mike?
I believe, I'll look it up, Mary, I'm dressed Mary, is it okay?
Sure.
That there was a motion by the select board to increase the numbers of those bodies to 12, and I just gotta go back and find the minutes before I stick my neck out on that, but I believe that the board increased that to 12 at a meeting in the past.
Joe?
Now,
One
I
at a
think you
time.
need to look up your rules. I believe in Robert's rules, you have to have an odd number because you could end up with ties.
6, yeah.
And all the boards have odd numbers.
Yep.
So if you're gonna do it, it's gotta be 11. I think 9's plenty.
Yeah, because it does say at least 9. We could have more
15.
if we need them, but sometimes more isn't better.
Right.
Okay. Okay, well.
I got one thing.
Go ahead,
Mary,
Bob.
if you got 9 members and you have 8 show up, you could very well have a tie that time, right? I mean, how do you deal with that?
Motion would fail.
Well, the only good news
So you
is
couldn't
this,
vote on anything? Well, unless you had a tie, I mean, if you had a tie,
It's a
then
tie, it
it would
fails.
just fail.
Fails.
Oh, okay, okay.
well, the only good news is most of what the CDERAC does is advisory. It doesn't, they can't set policy, they can't do anything like that. All they can do is advise the select board or the planning commission or the DRB if they so choose. But they can't actually set policy. What they can do is put a lot of effort into trying to make Castleton more attractive, which is what they're really trying to do.
Okay, we ready to vote on the motion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Audit Bid Award. When you finish taking your notes there, Mike?
In your packet, there's one, we sent out to a dozen firms, we got one back. I went through this, I highlighted in my copy, do they meet the criteria? Obviously they do. They wouldn't, they're more than qualified to do it. But the only thing that stickler for me to recommend, a recommendation to the board is they're going out to 2026. I'm not certain if that's the right choice since we only got one back. But we're gonna need an auditor for this year, and the auditor that we use now, wrote me an email saying they're not willing to do it again because they're trying to downsize their workload. And the other kind of fly in the ointment for the auditors are, with ARPA money out there, anything over $750,000 of executed federal dollars is gonna trigger a single audit. There's gonna be a lot of towns that have larger numbers of this ARPA money that might, well, it's not just ARPA, it's grants too. I mean, road grants and V-Trans, TAP grants, all that stuff that would equal up to $750,000 of executed federal dollars will trigger a single audit. So a lot of these accounting firms are gonna be doing a lot of single audits. So they're not taking on a lot of new stuff. So we have one proposal from R.H. Smith and Company. They're out of Buxton, Maine. They want, it's $15,000 for their fees, plus a $3,000 for a single audit, which is over our budget, by, I think it's 12,000 is our budget.
Yeah, I checked.
So, but we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place at this point.
Mary Lee?
What did we pay last year, even though they don't want to come back?
I think the regular audit was like a little over $10,000 plus a single, we didn't do a single audit this year. Melanie, you're on, aren't you?
I don't see her anymore. Oh, yeah.
Yes, she's there.
Yeah, I'm here, Mike.
I don't, off the top of my head, Melanie, I don't have a budget in front of me, what we paid for the audit.
I believe it was 10 or 10.5. We had a single audit the year before last.
Right.
We did not have one for FY '21.
So they were under our budgeted $12,000.
Okay,
What was the recommendation, Mike, of, we were to switch every 3 years, or was it 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
Which,
That's kind of
so if they
the,
accepted this, this would fall into that range.
yeah, they put it out to 2026, I believe.
Your preference, Mike, if I understand correctly, would be to try to get a one-year contract?
Yeah,
Do you think that's achievable?
I don't know. I have to ask. And it gives us time to budget, because I doubt we're gonna see an audit firm come in at $10,000. There was some firms that, you know, you're talking over $20,000.
Yeah, and we should allow for at least one single audit occasionally anyways, right? So,
Well, through ARPA, we're gonna,
so our budget is 6,000 under what it should be?
well, was it 6?
Bake sale.
Potentially 6,000.
Yeah, 3, yeah.
A lot of cookies.
So I'm not sure I see the value of just doing a single year if you're thinking that there's gonna be a lot of new business for auditing firms. That seems to me it's going to drive the price up.
It's potentially, I don't, it's a crapshoot, I guess, at this point. Or you commit to out to 2026, your pleasure. I mean, 6.5 dozen to me, I just gotta increase the budget, that's all.
It might be worth it to lock them in, because everything's going up.
That's my point of view.
Even McDonald's is going up, so.
Yeah, so that's, if the price is there, I believe, they kept 15 grand all the way through that.
they did. Yeah.
So whether there's inflation or not, they kept it at 15 through up to 2026, so.
They have to do it for 15.
Yeah.
They aren't gonna come to us and say, oh, this increased and that increased, and
I'm not gonna say that it won't come to us, but if we sign this contract, they've agreed to it.
I just wanted to hear that come out of your mouth.
All right, I'm going to take a stab at this if you're ready, Mr. Chairman.
I'm ready.
I'm going to make a motion that we authorize the town manager to enter into a 5-year contract with R.H.R. Smith and Company, Certified Public Accountants. Did I say 5 years?
You did.
You did.
With the additional expenditure of a $3,000 single audit as necessary.
You may want to mention the annual
Annual,
fee of $15,000.
thank you. Annual fee of $15,000. Hopefully I got that out for.
Mary Lee seconded it. Yeah.
And the second, discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes.
I'm
We've got
sorry.
a $3,000 problem in the next fiscal
Who was
year.
who seconded? Mary Lee?
Mary Lee
seconded
did.
it.
Mary Lee did.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike, moving on to review design project sidewalks to Parson Hill. Fuss and ONeil.
Yeah, this, Mr. Chairman, the Fuss and ONeil is the one that did the conceptual stuff to get the grant done. So they've already done a lot of the work to, the preliminary engineering work. So I'm recommending that, I didn't put this out to bid, coming to you without that, just full disclosure, because they already had the majority of the preliminary engineering done. So we didn't, whoever we hired, we have to come back and do all that stuff. So, this grant's a 50%. We're paying 50% of the small scale bike and ped grant. I think that, yeah, 50%, and we pay all of the engineering costs. That was the trade-off, between the small scale and the full scale. So to move this thing forward with V-Trans, we need someone to do the engineering work, the drawings. And it's not it doesn't have to be full-scale drawings either. 40 to 60% is what they recommend. Enough that the contractors have enough to do. We're not adding in Davis-Bacon rules, and we can be our own municipal project manager on this, stuff like that, so.
Do we have the money?
We do have the money. And after this, and I've said it several times, and I just want to make sure it's on record, after this project's done, 100% of the money that the town has had for sidewalks is depleted. So when you start thinking about other projects, there's zero in the coffers to include pedestrian accessibility on Main Street in the village area.
Okay.
How much is the grant?
This one here, the total project was 158,000, and we're about, I think we looked it up, it's like, with engineering and stuff, we had like $78,000 was our share, and I'll get you the full numbers, I don't have it in front of me right now. But that's what once we spend that money, that's what we got. But that gets us the engineering and the design for the project, and
That's just to Parson Hill, but not up the street?
from Castleton Corners to Parsons Hills, we're down the north side of the road.
Any other questions for Mike? If not, is there a motion?
What exactly are you looking for, Mike?
On page, next to the last page. So we're looking to enter into a contract with Fuss and ONeil for engineering, for the engineering design. And I'm just looking to see if there's no number assigned to it. They have a number, but as far as V-Trans goes, I don't think it's in here. There is a project number.
But we don't have a bottom line on our obligations to them.
Hold on. There is,
C-Trans grant is
no,
$14,800.
I'm not sure if he put it in the,
I got that, but I don't have.
Yeah,
all
I
this
don't.
Other stuff that Mike's talking
no,
about.
there was a number assigned to this damn thing.
Well, I'm talking about a dollar value.
No, that's what I'm saying too. I'm not sure if it's in this thing or if it's in the body of his email. I don't see it on here. Give me a minute here. Page 1, I know, so he did say that they're holding the $3,450 for Mark Corsell,
Yep. That's in there.
but there was a number on this thing. Why is it not here?
I didn't see it either.
Is there any problem with tabling this?
Yes. No, not this one. The other, there's another one that we can't table
I
because
move we table till we have the final figures of the cost of this contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of tabling it, indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. What's the one you're looking for now, Mike?
This is V-Trans.
V-Trans? That's 14.8.
No, I don't want the grant amount.
I do have a question on this project. When we finally get drawings, we're gonna have to have public meetings, and will we have to do that public meeting process like we did on the other two projects?
Yes,
Sure.
it's in here.
How many meetings we have? Budget, 2 meetings. Go ahead, Jim. I know it's, the answer's here. I'll find it and.
Okay, we've tabled it, right? So we'll have that information, so next meeting, so we can act on it. We don't miss any deadline or anything there, do we? As far as you know?
I don't know, it's the pre-construction meeting is 21st.
You've got numbers in your manager's report.
Do I? I don't know. I'm trying to find it in here and it's got me all freaking,
Confused.
yeah, well, not confused. I don't know where it is. It's, because it's 50% for, all the engineering costs are ours. There's no grant match on this. That's why I'm, like, the grant itself, when he's put in there, grant amount is 14.8. That's confusing me.
Well, isn't that a separate project?
As I'm looking at it, it says pre-construction for scoping project, and that doesn't even look like it's the right,
Well, there's several documents here that are attached for road grants for specifically Barker Hill Road and Pensacola
yeah, you got them
Road,
together, so I'm
which
looking
aren't
at,
relevant
Barker
to
Hill's
the-
messed up with it.
Aren't relevant to the sidewalk
Right.
project.
That was my conclusion.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have the answer right now.
That's okay, that's all right. You'll find it and get it to us. Okay, we voted on that, correct?
We did.
We did. So, do you have something else on this, Mike, on
No.
grants? No. Okay, move on to the manager's report.
Can I just ask?
Yeah, sure.
The next attachment we had was this V-Trans Barker Hill
Yeah, I saw that in there,
grant.
yeah,
Does that not require our action?
right. That's what I wondered about that too. Last page.
Yeah, this
Last
is
two
the grants.
pages, the two pictures that are there.
Why this was attached there, I don't know. Whatever. There's grants and aid. We were awarded the grants and aid project for that 14-8. I don't know what you've already approved us to, apply for it. So we applied for it and we received it. Not sure what else really needs to be done at this point, unless you want to make a motion to accept it. We applied for it, right? So
We don't normally do that, do we?
no. So I don't know why unless he was gonna brief you on, that we were awarded it.
He's not on anymore anyways.
No.
Looks like we're in limbo.
Well, we were awarded the grant, let's put it that way.
Okay. And was that for Barker Hill?
Barker Hill and, one section, highly erodible section on Pencil Mill.
Okay, all right. Shall we move on, folks?
Yes.
Okay. Manager's report?
Barring your questions? I don't, I'm hoping that you have questions of what's in yellow, rather than have you read it all, but.
Any questions for Mike? Mary Lee, start on that end?
No.
No? Bob?
Not on the manager's report.
Not on the manager's report. Okay, Dick?
I gotta go hang on a second. Go to Joe first, because I went through this once already, but
Want to go to Joe and then come back?
yes.
Okay. Joe?
So, Mike, on page 5, the Vermont Bonds Bank, it sounds like good news. Is this certain or likely, or how would you classify the probability of getting that grant assistance?
The way that they framed it to me, Joe, was that it is going to happen. They just need to go through the formality of de-obligating the money and applying it to Castleton.
The other comment I had is under emergency management, on page 8. I wonder if some of our service organizations, particularly the Lions, might have a membership who would be willing to become trained as volunteers for something like an emergency management project.
We need, that's certainly, I'm hopeful that they do, but we need to promote this now. But I needed to get the training, and because of COVID, the Red Cross wasn't doing the sheltering training, and now they are. So if I get the word out to all these organizations and out to the public, there's a couple folks I know who have been spoken to by other emergency management folks, that they might be willing to be part of this. So we'll get it out there to the service organizations and see if we can muster up some support.
Great, that's it for me.
Okay, Dick?
I'm good.
You're good? Bob, Mary Lee?
Yeah, I'm good.
We're good?
We're good. On the
Okay.
manager's report, yeah.
And this will get posted with the minutes.
Okay. Anything else on the manager's report? Nothing? Okay. Warrants for approval.
Make a motion, we approve warrant number 0422W for $121,123.00. Warrant 0425 for $92,987.01. Warrant 0421 for $30,414. Let me start over. $30,814.39. Warrant 0414 for $7,630.95. Warrant 0421P for $16,674.99. And warrant 0414P for $17,186.16.
Have a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Make a motion, we approve warrant number 0422P for $634.28. Warrant number 0415P for $634.28.
I'll second it.
And a second.
I recuse myself.
You recuse yourself. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. I assume there were no purchase orders for approval?
No. Bob?
We spent under $2,000 per, yeah, means we spent under $2,000 per purchase order.
We're supposed to sign this, Mike. Urgency.
Yep.
And that-
Yeah, that's, yeah, the group, is it just you on there?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Too, and have a signature.
What's cursive?
Cursive.
One of those.
Yes, you are.
I've got my,
That makes 8.
We did. All
Good.
right. You learning anything?
not much,
Yeah.
but he's just, it smells pretty bad, and I says, I'm from a farm.
Yeah.
Do you think it's really gonna bother?
Exactly.
Okay. Select board comments and/or concerns. I have one thing that I'd like to mention to everyone, and that is, if you plan to attend a meeting of another board or advisory committee, such as Recreation, CDERAC, Planning, DRB, if there's going to be 2 board members there, and you plan to attend, making a third, please notify Karen so she can post it as a legal select board meeting. Any other select board comments or concerns?
I've got one very short one, which I've talked to Mike about. I spent 3 hours taking all my emails and putting this under school and this under lake and this under whatever. I'm looking forward when the select board have emails that go to the town rather than to our personal emails. You said you're working on that.
I am. So under this Comcast, we're trying to get everything switched over to Comcast, and I'm in the process of that, but they haven't done the build-outs to 3 of the locations. That will allow us to give the boards and committees town email addresses. So it'll be available to the committee members and stuff to have email addresses rather than use their Gmail and that kind of stuff. But I'm not to that point where I can roll it out yet because they haven't done the build-outs, and they won't give me a price until they do the build-outs. It's just, they're.
And I'm sure you're all aware that our personal emails are open for public.
Yes, they are.
And that's why I'm trying to put mine into categories.
Okay. Anything else, Mary Lee?
No.
No, Bob?
Any movement on Piontek Road, Class 4 to Class 3, Mike?
Actually, there was. So the Brent particularly met with, and Chris, met with Alan Mays when he was here doing the Better Roads program.
Okay.
And they looked at the road and they said there would be some substantial tree cutting that would have to happen so proper drainage can be put in. Matter of fact, we had this conversation this morning. He said it's a really well-maintained Class 4 road, and he said the town really should look at, if you're committed to maintaining this road, which we have been, look at the amount of money we're gonna get to raise it from Class 4 to Class 3, and what the, how do you put it? Development is supposed to look like up there if they're gonna develop this place. But if you're gonna get, $800 a year to raise it from Class 4 to 3, just do your homework before you start making those commitments. But we are committed, we're changing culverts. We got 4 culverts to change up there and clean the ditches up and stuff like that. So we maintain that pretty well for a Class 4 road. So there was a conversation that happened.
I'm going to assume that the financial institutions are hesitant to give, this is my assumption, hesitant to give the taxpayers any money if they're proposing to build a house on a Class 4 road. I'm assuming that because I got another phone call on another road from a taxpayer asking if we could, Coon Hill Road. They said certain sections of it are Class 3 and other sections of it are Class 4. They offered their equipment and material to bring it up to a Class 3. So can you just put that in your folder and they offered equipment and materials if it would help the town at all to bring it up to Class 3. I assume they're not.
There's camps up there. There's no year-round residents.
Yeah, but this taxpayer said to me he wants to build a house up there. I don't know what other reason there would be for them to want it to bring up to a Class 3 versus a Class 4, other than maybe they can't get financial.
I don't know. I'll find out.
I don't know either,
Some people don't like driving over pothole, Bob. So if they're driving up a trail and they want it smoother, then who knows?
Yeah, I don't know either. It's just coincidental that within the 2 weeks, I had 2 different taxpayers with 2 different roads asking me what the town can do to help them out.
So the question is,
What can the town do to help get that Coon Hill Road?
we could do a lot. It's just whether the town wants to bring it up to the Class 3 standards.
Yeah, well, it goes
And
back to
maintaining it and-
Yeah, it goes back to what you say and what we can get paid for Class 3 versus we get paid nothing for Class 4. The way the difference is, I don't know.
All right, I'll come back to you next meeting with something.
Okay. I just want to remind our Rutland County Solid Waste District that the quarterly meeting is due next month.
You got it.
Perfect.
Okay, Bob.
Thank you. That's all I had for tonight.
Okay.
It's getting late.
Anything else, Dick?
I'm good.
Joe?
Three quick things. In terms of the appointments listing, in addition to the fact that Mike Holden is not on here as a member of the Planning Commission, which I think is an appointment we made, I noticed that Pat Keller, it's indicated that his term expired last June. And I appreciate if you could check that out, Mike, because that would suggest a problem, because he's been serving as chair.
And I believe on that list, Joe, isn't Mike Holden listed as on a DRB member?
He was
no?
appointed as an alternate at one time, wasn't he?
On the DRB?
I thought.
Well, I'm less clear about that, but I'm certain that we did appoint him to the Planning Commission.
As am I.
At Joe Bruno's recommendation.
Yeah, I'll look into it, but I believe that, because originally he was appointed as an alternate to the Planning Commission, and then there's a vacancy, he was moved up into the regular position. But I'll verify that, and I will check on Pat Keller.
I think
was done.
you're correct when you say that Mike is on the DRB, because I remember him saying that to me, and I'm saying, you got too many irons in the fire, Mike. So I believe he is on the DRB in one form or fashion.
I can't confirm or deny that.
Yeah, I'm just,
Secondly, Mary Lee and I, along with Bob Gibbs and Rick Grabowski, have held 2 meetings now related to the Castleton Village School. The first one was just the 4 of us. It was kind of an organizational meeting. The second one was last Thursday night. I think we had 13 people attend. They presented essentially 3 ideas. Martha Clifford advocated for giving a portion of the building to rec as a home, as she described it. She explained that they haven't been able to do any programming in the schools since the pandemic happened. The Boys and Girls Club was represented by David Wolpe. This is of Rutland County, but he was particularly interested in using a portion of the school. He made it clear he wasn't interested in using it all for programming, which is now being delivered to kids in 4 different clubs: Benson, Orwell, Fairhaven, and Castleton. He also made clear that they don't get charged anything for facilities rentals by the school district. In fact, the school district contributes money to their programming. And then finally, Mary Drogi and others spoke on behalf of the more general community center idea. I was disappointed that there weren't more people with different ideas, and none of the ideas presented seemed to have much revenue generation potential. Want to add anything, Mary Lee?
And you got your new little letter here. What are we going to do with it this summer?
Yes. And the last thing I was going to mention was ARPA. I don't think as a board we've ever really discussed our plan for ARPA decision-making. I know Mike has provided us with some spreadsheets that we might use for rating projects. I, for one, think that we need to have some special meetings open to the public to react to some of the ideas that we're contemplating.
Okay, anything else? Comments?
well, just that, you're gonna have them speak to that piece of paper that you showed me earlier about people wanting to rent the school out this summer. Are we gonna discuss that, or is that premature?
Personally, I think it's premature.
Premature, okay. Forget I said it.
What's top of mind for me is having our attorney develop a purchase and sale agreement that we can support. And the target is June 30th, right?
Anything else? Comments or concerns from the board? If not, do you need an executive?
I don't.
You don't.
We do.
We do.
You do. You two guys need one, okay. All right,
On labor relations contracts.
okay. Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we go into executive session at 9:11 with the board and the town manager for labor relations.
Is there a second?
Can I second it? I
And a
second
second.
I'll second
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. We're in executive session for labor relations.